Welcome to the Robcast. This is a show about Oakville and the people that work, live, and do business here. Really excited about our guest today. This is Donovan Gomes. He's the infamous owner and creator of the Chicken Cartel here in Oakville. You're not going to want to miss this.
It's the Robcast Podcast. He's with you for the next hour or 20 minutes. Who knows? Let's see how it goes. Here he is. It's Rob Raham.
Donovan, thanks for being here today, man.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You know, like your story, we talked obviously earlier, but your story is so, great. And I think a lot of people are going to be able to relate to it. But let's start with, your relationship with food. Like how or when did you kind of decide that this is what you wanted to do? Because I knew you grew up in a family with parents that had like a different expectation, but just explain that whole relationship with food.
No, very, very good question. So, believe it or not, I used to be right out of high school, didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and I got a job at a bank because my mom said, you got to get a job. So I got a job at a bank. Somewhere along those lines, I always knew that I love food. I'll tell you why. When I look back at videos from the past when my dad had those huge VHS cameras taking recordings of house parties.
With the actual tape in it.
Correct. Of full VHS tape in it, right? It was me running around the party. I saw glimpses of me with my hands always double-fisted with food, which means I'm eating as I'm playing and hands and food in both hands. So I always had love for food. I knew that growing up, my mom would always keep something extra for me on the side. I was a big eater. I never thought for a minute that I'd get my hands on foods actually creating. So I always loved to eat. Didn't know. But as throughout the banking phase, a couple of years in there, I picked up odd jobs in kitchens to get a little extra money. I love the downtown scene. It was me traveling from Mississauga all the way to Bay and Bloor to work at a bank. I said, since I'm here and it's a long travel back, why don't I just pick up a second job at the end of that shift? And I always ended up myself in small kitchens where, I started the dish pit and loved it and got to see that dynamic and of how everything worked. And I would steal a few ideas of, that's how he put that salad together, or that's how he's cooking that meat. Okay, let me go try it at home. And then I would start making food at home, and people started to like it. And I hosted a few parties at home, got people to come over. They tried the food and say, Don, you got something special going on here. You might want to consider proceeding with this. And I'm like, I got a really good bank job right now.
Yeah.
Really good gig. But, didn't look at the fact that maybe at that gig the ceiling was right here. But with this, it was something that I could really pursue because inside, it was my passion. Love to eat. Now I just have to translate to cooking, and then we're golden.
It's an interesting story because, a lot of people, or we've had other people on that kind of grew up with it, or had parents that forced it on them, or or inspired them as they cooked for them. It sounds like you're a little bit of a different path. Like later in life, you kind of got into this.
Professionally, yes.
Yeah.
I actually took it on going to culinary school a lot later. So, yes, I've worked in the industry much before that. There's a side story to me where I've actually traveled through the North Americas as a carny. Yes, I said it, a carnival.
Okay.
Yes. Not doing the rides and games, but working in food stands. See, once again, I'm drawn to that. So in high school, this peaked upon, the guidance counselor said, hey, listen, I've got an opportunity with a couple who own a private business where they travel throughout the different provinces in Canada, and they serve food. Would you be inclined to do it during your senior years? A couple hours of volunteer. And I said, volunteer? No. Would they if they pay me, I'd go.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to leave my family behind and go and do this thing. And then we made a deal that, yes, they would pay. And so I went out. And that was my initial journey as carny, as 21, 22.
Carny across Canada.
Yeah, right across. It's the same fair that travels all the way around. So the Calgary Stampede and
okay, the exhibition. Yeah, okay, got it.
Correct. And then they finish off at the exhibition.
Right.
And then they go down south. And so, I obviously couldn't go to the States. I was still in school and all that kind of stuff. So I enjoyed the summers that I did with them. So a good 10 years worth of doing that on the side as well.
So that was right after high school?
Kind of right after high school, yeah.
And then, so when you finished that up, then you took a different direction, went into the banking, got a real job.
Right. So even with the banks, I actually was a super performer in terms of results, where I was somehow got through with our team leaders or our managers to say, could you give me the summer off unpaid? I need to go and do something, and I'll come back after.
Okay.
Because I was a performer, there's nothing they lose really, because I come back and I start where I was. They allowed me to do that. I got away with that. So I'd go only summers during school. Right after school, only summers during the bank, and then after that, it was just pockets with these people because I knew exactly. They traveled year round, but I knew exactly where they were making the big dollars, and I would go there.
So tell me how, like, you're working at the bank, you're doing well. On the side, you're doing working at these kitchens or these restaurants in Toronto. When did it hit you, or when was the transition, like, I want to switch into this?
I mean, after about 3.5, almost 4 years at the bank, and this culinary scene on the side started to actually accelerate in my love for it. I figured, you know what, I'm done sitting in front of a screen, talking to people that I can't relate with, and I had this urge to continue doing something with my hands. And I said, if I go into this, I'm going to go all out, because I know my parents are not going to approve of it right off the bat. And but then so there's a bigger point to prove there to myself, and then of course to them. And if anyone says, oh, you don't got to prove anything to your parents, you're actually wrong. You wouldn't be here without them. So let's appreciate that.
Yeah.
But I want to prove to them that them giving me an opportunity to come into Canada, our whole family for that matter, that we can bring something from this opportunity. We don't have to, not many people get that opportunity. So at a young age to be able to come here and start a life and become a Canadian citizen, it was a joy for me. So remember, I came from Dubai, quite a different life there. So, I wanted to prove to them that we could do something.
Yeah.
That I could do something with myself that I actually loved. I was good at sales. I still am. But it doesn't, electrify me inside.
Right.
Food electrifies me. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go take a plunge. And I went and enrolled in a college here in Mississauga, actually.
Which one?
At the time, it was called Elliott House.
Okay.
The chef school. And I believe they've changed their name now. I think it's called Ontario Institute of Culinary Arts.
Okay, yep.
Great experience for me. It was very intense because it was a focus group, meaning only 10 people could actually get into the school, Rob,
Right.
For the year. And you had 5 professors or 5 culinary instructors that were at our disposal. So you get that intimate interaction with them.
Yeah.
So your studying capacity or level is better, I think, than a community college. No offense to anybody. It's just that, yes, you're going to pay a lot of money to get into the school. And so by doing that, I can kind of fast track my way into the industry.
Right.
Officially on paper. Yes, I've been doing the industry much before that for several years, but nothing official. Right. So I wanted to go in officially with a piece of paper saying that I have culinary being trained. And it was an interesting time because I actually worked at I think it was called...
Sorry, like, were you working at the bank at the same time?
No,
Or
no.
you done with the bank?
Bank was
now
done.
You're going to school?
I quit the bank. I registered with school, and then I also got a part-time job at a place called Premier Fitness. I don't know if anyone remembers it.
Of course, yeah.
Right. It's a gym that doesn't last long, right here in Air Mills and Aquitaine, something around that area. And the GM was a great guy. He gave me an opportunity to say, yes, Donnie, you can work nights as a part-time sales rep, if you will, because he liked the sales attribute that I was bringing from the bank anyways. Mm-hmm. So he said, okay, you would contribute here. And I told him my whole story. I'm going to school. I'm putting myself through school. I made a deal with the school. You want $20,000? I don't have to give you that right now. I have my word that I will pay you in installments if you're willing to every month. So I went to school for 40 hours and I went to school work for 40 hours.
Wow.
So that was my week,
Grind.
80 hours. I downsized on my car. I bought myself a Toyota Tercel, no AC, pearl green. I didn't care. This time I was on a mission.
Yeah.
A 1-year mission that I can, go on the low and focus on this. So, my mom hated the time that I was in culinary school because on the weekends I would bring back couple sacks of onions to practice chopping onions, and everybody's crying in the house because I'm chopping onions. And then she'd be like, "What are we doing with all these onions?" Like, "Don't worry, Mom.
Yeah,
I'm gonna cook it out, all of it. We're gonna make some stuff with it." It was really nice to see her eat caramelized onions on toast almost every other morning because it was delicious.
Yeah,
I'm like, the power of butter. and time
And slow cooking.
and slow
Cook it
cooking.
low and slow.
cooking. Yeah. You know, I had to contribute towards that gas bill there, but you know, because I loved braising, I loved roasting, everything that took longer was just better for me. In terms of flavor, I found that a little more exciting than something that's quickly cooked.
So the whole house smells like onions. You know, your mom's she's happy, she's full, she's excited that you have a passion for something. But at the same time, I know a lot of people out there can relate to this, having parents that have a certain expectations for their son and their career or daughter.
This is true.
You know, the challenges that come with that, you know, usually it's backed by passion, but how did you have to deal with that?
You know, my biggest challenge for me, not so much my mom, although she loved the fact because I got into the kitchen, like not many men in our culture get into the kitchen. So for her, that was great. And she knew I love to eat at the same time. But for my dad, it was a different route. This guy's a phenomenal gentleman. I'm telling you, I couldn't do most of what I've done till today without this guy. But simply said, you know, it all comes down to previous culture and how they were raised and what they thought was a good job for a man and or a woman in their culture, and so be it. That's how they were raised. You know, they didn't know otherwise. So when I told my dad I want to go to culinary school, I don't think he took to it very well because it's not something that in our culture that we can get into, that we know most people get into, right? And is it successful? And will you make money? Because they're just all they worry about is our future.
Yeah.
So that kind of went real quiet and real dark on me for several months. We didn't have a conversation because I told him, heads down, I'm doing this. You're not paying for it. I'm paying for it. I'm living under your roof. I'm more than happy to contribute towards rent, but I'm doing this. This is something that I want to do.
Like you didn't talk for months?
Many months, more than 6 months.
Tough.
Yeah, maybe a hey or a nod, and that was it. But I said, you know what? Things shall pass. This too will shall pass. You know, if we can prove that we're positive and determined to do something, and there are results that come from it, then those that were bitter at that time or were displeased, whatever you make, will turn around. They will. No matter what you do, they will turn around, right? Relationships work the same way.
I think it's a common trend, like from my understanding and people that I know that have immigrated to Canada or parents that have immigrated and have kids, they did this for a better life. They have a certain expectation or view of what the better life is. But that's not how it always goes, right?
No. I mean, growing up in Dubai, culinary, that's not even a thing. We don't even know who's behind the kitchens, you know? You got to be like chartered accountant or a doctor or a lawyer. That's what you're aiming for. Because like people say, you know, we want to get this really good JOB, which, you know, stands for things that I don't want to say on the mic right now. But, you know, if I discovered entrepreneurship 10 years ago, literally 10 years ago, I think I would be 4 times better than a man, a person, a father, and everything, all combined today. And you know what? You know,
like why do you say that? Like because of the experiences like that you've learned, or
100%.
The accountability, like the responsibility of being an entrepreneur?
All of the above, Rob. All of the above. You are on your toes 24/7. Just when you think you have your day off, there's no such.
No, that paycheck's not coming.
This doesn't. Yeah, exactly. So you know, when a person, I don't want to say man, it could be woman too. When a person has everything to lose because they haven't acted on their thoughts, then they will be the result of that. So we have to get up. I wake up at 5 a.m. every morning to do my thing because I know a family is going to be waking up shortly after, and now I got to share my time with them,
right.
And rightfully so. So I got to get my space and my head mindset and all that kind of stuff in the right direction of how my day, my week's going to go, and all that kind of stuff. You know what, guys? I'm not running a massive corporation. This is a chicken shack on the side of a coin car road. But you'd be surprised the amount of detail that's required, Rob, on a day-to-day. Because you slip on one thing, and it's a trickle effect that everything gets affected. So I
know, like I'm sure there's so many people out here that have already experienced your restaurant and then how amazing it is. So. But like, how did you get to that? You came out of culinary school. Did you have an idea? Like,
oh no.
How did it lead to that?
Good question. So next, go on to the next shift of my life. You know, people say TikTok made me do it. I say COVID made me do it.
Okay,
COVID made me do this because this is the part where the story gets really interesting. Been a chef in the city for many, many years. Some of the better restaurants in the town. The last place I headed up, I need not mention names right now, was a massive Mexican restaurant in the east part of town. You know, doing millions in revenue. So big staff. We're talking about, you know, almost 60 cooks, 10 dishwashers, and about 120 wait staff.
Wow,
It's
yeah.
a massive operation, right? You know, we sit shy of just under 600 seats between patio and inside. You know, and then we got a massive chef team too. Like, I think there's like 3 or 4 of us on the line expediting at the same time. So going from that to complete shutdown of COVID, and everyone's laid off, and rightfully so. What business is going to run in the middle of COVID, and no one knowing what's going to transpire thereafter, when is things going to open? My mindset went from here at a peak, working 13 hours, maybe 14 hours a day, with all kinds of calculations and things going on in my head, to an all-time, what am I supposed to do with myself right now? I never saw my kids for barely any part of the day in those 5 years, in their first 5 years, because I was at work for many, you know, when you hit head chef level, the reality is you're going to be there a fair amount of the time, right? So, but my job was to provide, and that's what I was doing at the time. And then COVID hit, and now I'm at home with the wife and kids, and it was actually difficult to have conversations because I didn't know how to talk to them, because I haven't been talking to them as much, right? Now it's more, they into your face, 5-year-olds asking 40,000 questions for the smallest thing.
It's probably also because the stress of you not working right now, and the stress of all that whole situation. But like,
yeah, I mean, I was fortunate enough to get a decent EI for a good amount of time because I put in that many hours, whatever the case may be. But I knew after 3 months of EI, I said, you know what? Not even 3 months, 3 weeks, more like it. Yes, 3 weeks of EI, I said, this can't be forever.
No.
And this whole syrup thing that's going on, I wasn't a fan of it. My wife couldn't get it, so now we're down to like just my income, and EI isn't anywhere close to what my full pay is. So I said, I got to do something on the side. So here's the story, Rob. I put out an email to family and friends saying, none of you guys can go anywhere in the world right now. Nowhere. But let me take you to any one of these countries, every week a different country, by providing you food, a full-out menu, food from that country delivered to your house. Okay? And the reason I came up with that is because everyone was doing this whole, I'm frustrated with my kids, I'm working from home, then I gotta deal with them, then I gotta cook, and I gotta school from home, and all this thing is happening from home. You're trapped in the house when, for the most part, those individuals had outlets.
is this out of your house? Like they come
Right out of the house,
Okay.
right? So I said family and friends only because there's a liability. We're cooking out of the house, right? I'd had my girls in hairnets, running around the house, not in the kitchen, but still in hairnets just to be safe.
Yep.
If it was COVID time, so I was the executive shopper, prepper, cooker, cooler, packer, driver. And so the concept was, guys, let me take one day out of your entire week on the weekend where you don't have to prepare meals for your house because you're always in each other's face. Instead, spend some quality time with them.
Right.
And that way you're also helping a chef out in need. You would have gone out to a restaurant anyways once a week, so let me feed you that restaurant quality food. And so that's what I did. I started providing 2 to 3 course meals, a different country.
Like they just pick it up? Like
No. I'd make it, cool it, pack it, and put it in my car, full blast AC, freezing my nuts off, and driving all over the GTA. I would spend 7 hours on a Friday dropping off food to different families. It grew from 6 families in our first week to 25 families in our third week in. And I was like, okay, this is getting out of hand.
Here.
There's something here, but it's getting out of hand. I'm in an 1,100 square foot apartment where the kitchen is only like 100 square foot.
Yeah.
One sink, electric burner, and I got to make all this food, but now it's getting the masses. And then it started to get a little hairy because it was supposed to be only family and friends. If I know you, then I'll serve you. When it gets into the public that I don't know you and it's a friend of a friend, then it could be a liability issue. So sure. I don't have insurance. I want to be safe about these things, right? And I also want to protect my family. So I pulled the plug on it. That was part reason. The other part reason was it was getting really bad relationship between the kids and I and the wife and I. It was tough to, in the same moment, be chef and dad at the same time. Why am I stopping them from running around their own house? But I'm blocking them off the kitchen kind of stuff, right? You can't come in here. Yeah. So I pull a plug on it and I said, okay, for a month, I'm going hiatus. Sorry guys, this has to end. I'm going to spend some time with my family. So we did all kinds. We love biking. We love the outdoors. We love camping. We go and do all that stuff. So for home, I did that. And then I started getting emails again. Hey, listen, you need to come back. Mm-hmm. You need to come back. We're really missing this stuff. And then I started to come back. And now it took a different approach. It went a little bit more high end. And then with the food. But I was limiting how much I was taking on. Right. Anything past that, not happening. Sorry, guys. First come, first serve. Here's the menu. When I reach a number, I'm going to stop, right? But I decided to put a little bit more effort into the food in terms of high quality, fine dine, almost, right? And I noticed that the people, even towards the end of when I took that break hiatus, that they started ordering pizza for their kids and only ordering my food for the husband and wife.
Okay.
It was mostly families that I was feeding. And they were telling me, I was getting pictures and stuff like that. They dressing up in suits and a gown on their dining table with a wine bottle and like they were in a restaurant setting, plate and everything, and they're plating my food on a plate. From a liter container so they're like, you know what, Donnie, with your food, we're actually falling in love again. We're going date night again. We're having conversations that are more intimate, and not because we're not in the restaurant settings, so we can be ourselves in our own home. And we're not tipping, we're not parking, we're not paying for any of that stuff. So this is awesome. Yeah. And when we came back, that's why I decided to refine the menu a little bit to give these adults a more, date night quality food kind of thing, on a higher end. But honestly, I couldn't continue that forever working out of the house. It didn't make sense. So I needed to figure out something to do. And word of mouth had it during these home deliveries catering that there was a gentleman looking for a private chef. And I said, okay, this is something that I'd like to foresee. So I went and met the gentleman.
Like just for family, like a private chef
for a person. And maybe some of his guests, right? And so I met with the guy, and it was a great introduction. We kicked off right away, and I started literally working for him the next week. We went through a whole month. It was very exciting for me because he had a list of restrictions of what he can and cannot eat. Okay. So he put me up on a challenge, and we went about it, and it was a really good experience. But I also said to myself, this could be demanding. I have a family at home. I'm on the other side of the city, and we need to do something that I can have my family around me as well. So I said, okay, if I've got anything to lose, love COVID and whatever it did for me, but this was no better time to lose if I were to lose. So let me start something. Okay. Hence started a company called the Chicken Cartel. How did the name come about? I sent out 7 different, I knew that I wanted to work with chicken. Why? I did some research. 77% of Canadians consume chicken in a household. It's versatile, it's cheap. People eat it 2 to 3 times in a week for the most part, if you are a non-vegetarian. Everything else, here and there, depends on how you look at it. So I picked chicken. It's popular. It's the cheaper of the meats. And I found that fried chicken was the hotspot in food trends at that time. So I said, okay, let me dummy down on this, but I'm going to do a different take.
Let's pull it back. Like the idea. So, like, did you have the idea of the concept? Like, you wanted to do chicken cartel, and then was it after, like, where do I open this up? Do I lease a place downtown, like on Lakeshore, downtown Oakville?
For me, it was the idea being what I want to sell first, then coming up a name for it. So we narrowed it down to chicken. And I said, okay, we got to come up with a name that's catchy. So I put out, I think, 25 different names to a bunch of people that were close to me. And I said, give me your top 3. And literally, Chicken Cartel was ranked right up there for most of them. So I said, okay, that's the one I'm going to go with. What am I going to do? I'm going to do fried chicken. I originally first started off with whole and half chickens, and then somewhere down the line said, it's not trendy enough, let's go to sandwiches. And that's how it is. So we went out and we pulled out our savings to rent a banquet hall out in Vaughan, Concord, Ontario. Yeah, okay. It was a banquet hall. I couldn't find a place where rent was affordable. This was slightly affordable. It was in the middle of nowhere. We lived in Toronto, so we had to go up there. So we went there. We tried it out for 3 months, and I lost money, hand over foot, month over month.
Renting out the banquet hall, like a big facility, or was
just
it like, or in the parking lot? Like what?
No, remember, Rob, this is COVID times. Everything's closed. Right. Okay. Right. So people just trying to make some money to pay for their overhead. The banquet halls were renting out their kitchens. Okay. Or other restaurants were renting out their kitchens for someone who wanted to do catering or ghost kitchen kind of concept. So are you
marketing in that area specifically? Or are you using your network, but you're kind of further away?
As a first-time entrepreneur, I didn't even know what marketing was or how to get. I would always work for somebody else, so I never did that part of the work.
Which nobody does when they start.
Right. But like so someone said, get some flyers going. So I contacted Canada Post. I got some flyers, get some graphics of my own, Chicken Cartel, whatever. And I went door to door. Wife took a lane.
Pound the pavement.
Sister-in-law, myself, pound, whatever you want to call that. Yes. And then we went and we gave out flyers. we got next to nothing in terms of return from that. We're learning the marketing game that you put.
Knocking on doors during COVID was not a fun thing to do.
Well, yeah, and the ratio too. How much ever you put out, you're only going to expect that much back when it comes to marketing. And I'm starting to understand that. Long story short, the banquet hall there wasn't working out. But one client that came there happened to have a banquet hall here in Mississauga, and he said to me, he's like, you got a phenomenal product here. Are you happy where you are? Because I think this would do really well in Mississauga. I said, and the moment he said Mississauga, boom, because I grew up in Mississauga. And I'm like, all right, let's go to Mississauga. Well, we'll have to travel from Toronto, but that's okay. Let's go to Mississauga. And he gave it to me for a third of what I was paying at that banquet hall, at his banquet hall in terms of rent. And I said, this is more feasible. Yeah, so we lost some money along the way. This is the learning, growing pains. Yeah, you're gonna lose some. It was our savings, so be it. It's a matter of survival right now, bro. Yeah. So, I'm going to do whatever I can to make it happen. So we get to Mississauga. This was better for us. I wish I thought about it earlier, but, this was better for us because I have family and friends in Mississauga. They got the ball rolling with coming to us, leaving us some honest reviews, and moving forward. And 3 months we were here, April, May, and June of, I can't remember the year, 2021. Mm-hmm. And month over month, it just kept getting better. Same thing, curbside pickup, ghost kitchen concept. They'd pull it outside, we come drop off the bag. Yeah. And it was humbling to see these people after about a month just on their lawn chairs, trunks open, enjoying
out front.
And my wife's like, every time I walk up with the bag to deliver to the next car, I get this applaud, like I'm walking through. Here she comes, the lady with the chicken. Nice, here we go, everyone's clapping. So they were enjoying the food. What grew us there real quick was, I'm contributing towards this. There was a vaccine center on either side of this banquet hall. So they were grabbing a sandwich before or after they got poked, one of the two. But we got most of our audience from there. How do we know this? We asked them. Mm-hmm. How did you hear about us? Oh, we're just getting our vaccinations across the street. So, many things I can thank towards COVID. These were some of those things.
It's interesting you say that. I was in the restaurant yesterday, had the TKO sandwich, best chicken sandwich, most crispy, all the details to it. Blew my mind. Amazing. Appreciate you. But we talked about your location now, which is in a parking lot. Correct. Right? It's not this the usual route that restaurateurs kind of take.
Correct.
But those restaurateurs have all these overhead expenses, all these different things. But so it sounds like when you were at that banquet hall and you had these these vaccine centers around, you kind of realized that drew traffic towards you.
100%.
Right. So was that part of your decision on going in that route? Because some people are like, oh, you're just some guy in a parking lot. But
it definitely played a part, I'm not going to lie, because even during I'm going to go back to Carney days, it's funny how everything comes full circle. When we were in a spot away from other people, we did the worst. When we were in a spot close to other competitors, even doing food, we did the best because it brings the crowd. So you need other landmarks.
So you're just at the corner of Royal Windsor and Winston Churchill. And you're in the parking lot where that kind of coin-up car wash is. How did you end up or find that place? I believe it used to be called Chippy's.
Correct.
How did you land there? What was the opportunity there for you?
Opportunity was, yes, it was called Chippy's, and I bought it, and I ran it for a bit. The opportunity there was that it clicked back to me. Hey, Donnie, you've been a carny for a few years. You ran food trucks in state fairs, not like small crowds, like multiple crowds. So this couldn't be something that you couldn't do. So it's intimate, it's small enough. I don't think in my head, thought maybe the overhead couldn't be that much. And so I approached the gentleman. I happened to see it for sale while I was at the banquet hall in Mississauga because they actually wanted the banquet hall back. The province was opening up to the industry. I needed to go. I was panicking. I was going, okay, now where do I take this? Because they want their kitchen back. So I found this thing for sale. I approached the gentleman. We made a deal. I bought it. And my wife said to me, he's like, regardless of what happens, regardless of Chippy's and any other business that you're buying, can you make this happen out of this container? And I said, you know what? I've got 10 years of experience. Something's got to pay off from there. So I said, yeah, we can make this happen.
Yeah.
I bought it, and here we are.
I mean, part of that whole thing, though, and what I think is honorable, I'm not sure if it was part of your deal, but you honored his previous clientele that like Chippy's or whatever they served before and offered that as well as your new menu.
100%. I actually still continue to run everything off the sides when it came to Chippy's. So when it comes to Chippy's, the French fries, the onion rings, the poutine, all that's still there. It's just I just didn't want to serve processed foods anymore. So your question was that I honored his thing. I mean, I don't want to pull the Band-Aid right off as a brand new owner. I've just come into the community as a business owner, now as a resident, but I wanted to continue it was a vehicle that was already working.
Right.
The wheels were turning. So why put a stop to it and introduce something brand new and shock the community? So I continued for at least 2 years to kind of actually know the clientele that's around here. And on the side, introduce these chicken sandwiches to show them that there is something, you want to call it healthy. I think it's healthier than a processed food for sure. It's wholesome, and then there's something tastier, better, homemade out there that you can indulge in rather than putting processed food in your stomach. Now, processed food is good for a treat here and there, and that's why our businesses thrive. During the summer periods, because people come out for those little treats. But I wanted a year-round business. I don't want it. So the day I picked up Chippies, I said to myself, this is going to be year-round. This is not going to be a 8-month thing that the previous owner was doing, because we have the capability of doing it. We have heat, we have AC, we have a washroom for ourselves. We have the capability of having them come inside. So I transformed a few things to make that happen rather than coming to a window and ordering food.
For anyone out there, I'm part of this whole thing is there was a shift when you went to social media. Like, you have over 10,000 followers. That's not too many people have that, right? So when did you shift into that at the Chicken Cartel?
I mean, I love your enthusiasm. We're not at 10,000 yet, but we're getting there. We're getting, but you're manifesting. I love the manifestation. We're going to get to 10,000 and then more. Social media. You know what? I got into it out of necessity. I didn't have the dollars for marketing. I didn't know much about marketing, but I knew that Instagram at the time, you don't have to pay anybody to tell an audience out there how to work Instagram and going to details of getting the audience. I had no idea. I just started posting.
Right.
Then I figured, you know what? I can't focus on the business and be the social media guy at the same time. So I hired a couple of people along the way. They've been really helpful, different people along the way to help me with Instagram. Some have managed my accounts fully, partially, whatever you may call it. But I guess I have some sort of a character that helps on Instagram.
Well, you're as real as it gets. The content that you put out is just real, right? When there's so much fake stuff that we're trying to sift through online, you're as real as it gets, and it's refreshing.
Thank you.
I think that's what people relate to.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, we don't really edit the colors of the sandwich or any of that stuff. This is how you see when you get it, when you eat it. So that's what I want to put out. So, real content that people can relate to. And I think I'm doing an okay job, to be honest with you. And people started to trend to that. Now, I always tell people the weirdest things, but they actually ring through. Like, I say stuff like, it's going to change your life. One sandwich at a time is going to change your life. And they don't believe me till they take a bite, because I'm not putting out this commercialized fried chicken sandwich. Anything that's fried about this whole chicken sandwich thing is 1/4 ounce of batter. You're eating an almost 12-ounce sandwich. If 1/4 ounce is fried, everything else is healthy.
Right.
In there.
Right. It's just heating the actual chicken. The batter's...
That's it. I mean, even the ingredients that I use, I'm talking about avocado, turmeric, ginger. These are healthy ingredients that actually boost your immune system. So it's not nothing.
Sticking with the content that you're putting out there, like, some of your posts have millions of views, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's one that's pretty key. I'd like you to kind of expand on, that one post that you put out when you're kind of just explaining your journey and why you think it got that many hits.
I learned the power of social media through this one post, to be honest with you. A gentleman came in on my birthday, filmed a post, just like any other blogger would do it, but he just knew how to work the system. He ate 4 sandwiches almost, and he he took content and he went home. And I never heard from this guy after that. February 1st, I get a call. February 1st, the following year, I get a call saying, "Shit, chef, sorry, I fucked up and I didn't post. I'm really sorry, but I just put it out."
A year later?
No, like 5 months later,
okay,
October and then February, right? And I just put it out. I want you to take a look. I'm really sorry, I got caught up with doing this, that, and the other. And I'm like, Joseph, I totally forgot about you. I didn't even know. This post, when you can bring people in at minus 30 degrees, when every morning I'm there there's a lineup at 11:30. I open at 12, 11:30, like 35 to 45, sometimes even 50 people deep.
Right.
I'm not even open, guys. And it's freezing. And the snow and hail, all kinds of things coming on. They're ducking to the car wash bay so they don't get hit, and they come back out. That was humbling for me.
Yeah.
My butcher shop told me, Donovan, what's going on? Hey, you went from, 3 cases a week. This is February we're talking about here. 3 cases to 18 cases a week. What's going on? I'm like, hey, man, we're just slaying some real good chicken here, okay? Just keep it coming. I don't know. It's social media. It's doing wonders for me. I'm coping with this. I can't even say I understand. I'm just coping with it.
Right.
So that's where it went a little crazy.
Let me, like, when we talked yesterday, you like the future for the Chicken Cartel or for Donovan, like, or like you have ideas and they're not like the brick and mortar kind of ideas. Like, can you expand on like the concept that you have and why people out there watching might think maybe I don't have to pay $10,000 in rent to be on Lakeshore Road or on a main strip. Yeah. Maybe this is a different option.
It is. I mean, everything's relative. You go brick and mortar or bigger. Bigger is, they say, better. But also better means more headache, right? You got a lot of things that you got to consider, and you'll be on the ball a lot more. I've learned after slaying through the industry for a couple decades now, there's more to life, guys. We need to value our life. I need to value my kids and my wife and my time spent with them. So taking that route now, if I was 30, I'd take that route, Rob. I would go brick and mortar, hands down, because that's every chef's dream. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But at the stage of life, I'm turning 45 this year. I'm excited for it. Living to work and working to live, which one is more important to you? So I would take a route. I would definitely consider expansion. This needs to get to every mouth out there. I love the Golden Horseshoe of Toronto. I want to be able to expand in and around that, but I want to do the same concept. Trailer out of a piece of land, be it a car wash or whatever. It's a proven concept. We've been here 3 years. We're still standing, and I'm late for service. We want to do this again somewhere in a small town, because I think the small towns, they really support these mom and pop joints. And I feel the support here in Oakville. So, going out west, Burlington to Niagara, that would be our next venture doing this.
Sorry to interrupt again. Like, we've had other restaurateurs on the show, different paths, different journeys, but, the margins are so small. Right? And the overhead is high, right? And the only way you can be a true restaurateur is if you're passionate about what you are trying to accomplish,
Correct.
which you clearly are.
Correct.
It sounds like there's a point in your life where you thought, I don't need to have all the overhead. I don't want to manage all this stuff. I can make this much money, do what I love, make people happy, and that's it. Like, was that like a revelation 100%. At some point?
It actually flashed back to all the entrepreneurs I've worked for before, or the bosses that I worked for before, seeing the stress with them.
Right.
And it was stressful for me because I was actually running their kitchens, but I understand what the things they were thinking of, and now I'm living it, right? So I said to myself, you want to make millions? That's fine. There's a lot that goes with it,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
And a lot, for the most part, means your time, your attention. Will it get to that point 10 years from now? Maybe. But right now, I'm going to enjoy this journey, one establishment at a time. People want to jump on board with me, let's go, but do it. But you got to be real. This is a hustle game. I hustle every single day. I shop myself. I do everything myself with the help of beautiful staff that I have. But if you're not in it, then you can't really sit back and say, the goodies will come. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Donovan, it's a great story, but like for all the entrepreneurs or people who are trying to get in or have ideas, like what advice from all that you've learned, especially in the in the restaurant industry, would you give to that aspiring chef to open his own thing?
The advice I would give is that if you want to dive into something like this, if you can already digest that you're going to be putting everything that you had, no shortcuts whatsoever, then you're ahead of the game. If you can't digest and set yourself up for that, then the only thing you're setting yourself up is for disappointment. That's all I got to say.
Truth. Donovan, this brings us to the part of the show. It's the Robcast Rapid Ask. So, as a chef, here, this first question is going to be a little challenging. You're on death row. It's your last meal. You're by yourself. What's on that plate?
Home. Home is on that plate. What is home for me? White rice, something called dal, which is a lentil curry, a piece of fried fish, and a little bit of pickled onions. This is home.
Is that like what your mother cooked? Is that what family back in Dubai?
Correct. This is my mom.
Home.
This is home cooking. My mom's cook. Simple peasant food flavors, bar none.
Nice. If you had the opportunity to sit down with anyone in the world, celebrity, dead or alive, who would that person be?
Anthony Bourdain. In a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I want him to pick my mind, my brain, and I want to do vice versa. Yeah. That is a gentleman I would like to sit down with. Yeah.
You've got the opportunity to travel anywhere in the world. You've got a week off from the restaurant. You're with your family. Where are you going?
Bali. Never been. Would love to go.
Yeah.
Bali.
Yeah. And lastly, like what's something that people might not know about you that might surprise them?
Well, I sing. I play 4 different instruments. I love the outdoors. These are things that you actually don't see in a chef who is just running their business.
Yeah.
And that's what they see.
Is that like a side passion project, like the music, or is it just?
I've been playing since I was 5. Not as active right now, more passive, but I love sports, especially racket sports, and I love to play music on the side. That's what I do. That most people don't know about. Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. So, guys, I appreciate everybody watching out there today. Donovan, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
See you next week with another episode of The Robcast.
Appreciate it. Thank you.